Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn, and joining me today to analyse the defeat to Manchester City and talk about Ten Hag's future. It is Dan from Red Devils TV. How's it going, Dan?
Yeah, mate, I'm good, thank you. Obviously, very frustrated from yesterday's performance, but again, I'm pretty sure we're getting to a good debate today, like we did on the last show we did together. So yeah, it should be good.
In many ways, what happened yesterday was better than expected. United actually leading for most of the game, and then succumbed to City's pressure in the second half. We didn't go 2-1 down to the 80th minute and conceded the third very late on, thanks to that Amrabat mistake. But we all went into this game thinking United were going to get battered. That didn't really happen. The most frustrating thing of all, in my opinion, is that we lost to Fulham the week before, and now we've experienced back-to-back defeats, and we're effectively out of the top four race now, 11 points off Aston Villa, and our only hope, and it's a very small hope, is getting that fifth spot and qualifying for the Champions League. For that to happen, the likes of Liverpool and City and Arsenal would have to do well in Europe this season. For England to get that fifth spot in the Champions League. But even that, we're like 6 points off Tottenham. We played a game more. So it's looking pretty bleak at the moment. The manager is coming under more intense pressure and scrutiny, and probably looks even less likely that he's going to be at the club next season. So before we get into the fallout from the game, let's talk about the game itself. Um, what did you make of United's performance, Dan?
I thought it was shambolic, to be honest. I mean, you said that everyone expected us to get battered. I don't know what game you were watching, but to me, we got absolutely battered. It was a wonder strike by Marcus Rashford. It was a very good goal. You can't fault him for that. It was a brilliant strike. They were saying on commentary it was a 1 in 30 chance or something of that going in, and you know what, Marcus struck it really, really well. It was kind of funny how Marcus, the hardest shot that he scored from, and he messed up the easier chances. Obviously, he had that chance where he headed it into the ground when he beat Kyle Walker over the back line, and he scuffed his chance there. There was a chance where I think it was Bruno Fernandes or another player crosses the ball to the back post, and Marcus just goes to volley it and completely misses the ball. Eric Ten Hag came out and said in the post-match press conference that we had our opportunities that showed themselves, especially in the first half. But City absolutely battered us, mate. They were better in the first half than they were in the second half. But Ten Hag substitutions and just certain player individual mistakes, it cost us. Phil Foden changed the game for Man City. He was on the first half, but it was absolutely running our right hand side, our left hand side ragged. And then I think it was, I can't remember who came off. Who was it?
Doku.
Evans came off for Camblera,
Mhm.
and Camblera went at right back, and Dalot moved to left back, and Lindelof was in the middle with Raphael Varane. And then Foden, who was tearing Lindelof in the first half, and the start of the second half, he then moved to the opposite side where Camblera was, because obviously Dalot was an absolute handful, and that was just ingenious by Phil Foden and the tactics by Pep Guardiola. That's what's levels to this. Obviously, Dalot did the smart thing because obviously he was instructed to move to left back because we know he's very comfortable in that position. But Phil Foden, I don't understand why Ten Hag. He saw Phil Foden was dangerous all game long. Don't know why Phil Foden or Ten Hag didn't ask Dalot to man mark Phil Foden for majority of the game, because Kevin De Bruyne was being marked all over the place by, the likes of Casemiro and Mainu. Kevin De Bruyne was really struggling. Erling Haaland was being defended off really well by the likes of Varane and Mainu and Lindelof. And then Dalot, he was doing really well defending off Doku and Julian Alvarez in the second half. But who was marking Phil Foden? He was running everyone else ragged, because Kevin De Bruyne as well at times was looking really dangerous because he still had a lot of like about 10 yards of space at times where you know how dangerous Kevin De Bruyne is. He can kill, he can cut open a defense like that. He's a magician at it. He's absolutely sensational. Probably one of the best Premier League players we've ever seen, and he's probably going to go down as a Premier League legend. But at the end of the day, I thought we got absolutely battered. The scoreline was fair to us. When you say we were expected to get battered, we were probably all expecting like 5-6-0 Man City because we saw what they did to Luton and saw what we did to Fulham, which was absolutely fuck all. So at the end of the day, we were scared going into this game, but I was just gutted, to be honest. We held on to the game for so long, but again, United go take the lead in a game and then drop back and defend and invite so much pressure. That was the frustrating part. We didn't actually take our opportunities that presented ourselves, and people are moaning about the ref. Yeah, the referee was doing my head in. The fouls, the little fouls he was giving to City, not United. Yeah, that's fine, but I don't care what anyone says. That was not a foul on Marcus Rashford. I'm one of the biggest United fans that I can claim to be, right? But even I won't say that's not a foul on Marcus Rashford. The Garnacho one, that's very debatable because Edison clearly wins the ball, but goes right through Garnacho to win the ball. Anywhere on the outside the pitch that's not the goalkeeper, that's an instant booking for dangerous contact. So why didn't Edison receive it, or why was it a free kick to us or a penalty? But it's all this buts and maybes. But apart from that, I don't think the referee was that bad. But people just like to point fingers. You could say like they couldn't actually understand that United are just shit and were miles off the likes of City. City aren't only the best team in England, they're arguably the best team in the world. It doesn't matter how they achieved it. Obviously, if the 115 FFP charges come true, then they get what they deserve and they get relegated. That's the rumor. But as well, they've still had to win every single game. They've still had to build an incredible squad, So for the financial side, they've possibly cheated. But the player aspect, they've not done steroids, they've not done like inhalers or enhanced their performances like Paul Pogba. But at the end of the day, City are an incredible team. And I hate saying it because I would do anything to have the glory Man City have had, but we don't. And we're talking about United about how we got absolutely dicked by them. But I just thought we got absolutely battered, mate. To be honest.
Yeah, what I meant is we weren't battered in terms of the scoreline. But City did dominate the game from the start. 73% possession, 27 shots on goal. We only had 3 shots on goal. Um, I mean, look at the passing stats. They had 801 passes. We just had 305. Um, I don't think we even created a chance in the second half that I can remember. I felt Ten Hag substitutions made us worse.
Yeah,
Bringing on Anthony and Forzan, who was very poor against Fulham. Anthony's always poor.
I don't. I
Um,
don't rate Forson, by the way. I think he's absolutely
no,
dreadful.
yeah, yes, yeah. Ahmad should have came on. I felt
I don't
if
think
we're
anyone should have come on. I think that we were doing all right, to be honest. It was still 1-0. And then, obviously, that Rashford situation happened. Phil Foden goes and scores the equaliser. But then it's still 1-1. But then Ten Hag goes and takes off Johnny Evans, who's done brilliant on
well,
Haaland all
I
game
think
long.
Evans was struggling. I think he was injured.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the thing. Because when I found out Evans was in the starting 11, I was like, I thought he was injured. But I just thought he was doing a really good job on him. But if it was an injury, then that's fine. But Ten Hag didn't mention that. He didn't mention why he took off Evans or anything like that. It was just tactical, you could say.
Well, the way he walked off he was a bit gingerly. The way he was walking, so I just assumed there was something wrong, given his age and how intense that game was. And he just didn't look right when he was walking off. He walked off very, very slowly, gingerly, as commentators would say. Um, and it is worth mentioning that Evans was excellent in the 68 minutes that he did play. Um, and Kumbala, I felt as if you have to make that change, just go like for like and play Kumbala at centre half rather than changing the whole back four around in the middle of a game against City. We were under so much pressure. I don't think it was the right thing to do. And Foden obviously switched out to that right hand side, and when Kumbala came on at right back, and Foden had a lot of joy after that. Obviously scoring.
The thing is about Camblera is that if the statistics are right, he's 6 foot. I think it's 6'4" or something like that. So for the age he is, he's very tall. So we wouldn't have lost the height in Johnny Evans because Camblera kind of makes up for that. But at the same time as well, Eric Ten Hag just completely got his tactical decisions wrong. Like you said, he should have left the defence as it is, replaced Johnny Evans like for like players, and just keep it as it is because we had to defend all game. That was what happened. We had to defend all game, and we always knew we had to shut up shop, just like endure all the chances and shots City were making, and then just try and break. And there were multiple times where we did break and did get past the final man in City's defence, but either our players messed up or they, a controversial decision happened where, like Garnacho, because he was through 1-on-1, Ake was keeping him on side on the far post, and then Edison just goes and takes him out cleanly. But again, like I said, it's a very debatable tackle because on the pitch for a midfielder or a defender or a forward to make that challenge outside of the goalkeeping area, it's a free kick no matter what and possibly a booking. Edison does that and there's no punishment whatsoever. And that's what the confusion is. But like I said, I'm not going to sit here and blame the ref because I don't think the ref was that bad, to be honest. What did piss me off is that he was up to, I think, what was it now? I think it was around the 78th minute or 80th minute or something. He was there chatting to Haaland. I think it was when Onana went down with that cramp. And do you remember that? Onana went down with cramp. And then the referee walks over to De Bruyne and Haaland. And then he's just sat there laughing with him and stuff. And I was imitating him. I was just like, oh, can I have your shirt? Can I have your shirt? Like, you know what I mean? Like, probably just like a little City fan at heart. But at the end of the day, I just thought it was pathetic from the performance from the players. Rashford, people said Rashford was our best player. I didn't see it. He scored an absolute brilliant goal. But apart from that, what else did he contribute? Absolutely nothing, in my opinion. He got absolutely, because you saw as well, Rashford and Garnacho were interchanging. And, Rashford went up at right striker or left striker. One was dealing with Kyle Walker, one was dealing with Ruben Diaz or Ake, whoever was the last man in defence for City. And neither of them could get past him. So I don't know why considering how high City played as well. Onana distributing the long balls over the top, that seemed to be working really, really well. But at the end of the day, I don't know what we can do anymore. There's rumours now that Ten Hag has to win against Everton, Sheffield United, and Liverpool in his next 3 games. Otherwise, he's getting the sack. I don't believe it. I think he's here till the end of the season, whether we like it or not. I want Ten Hag to stay. I really back this manager. I know
Wait,
how
we'll
you.
get to that. We'll get to that.
I know. That's what I'm saying. But it's a bit of a teaser for the audience who is watching tonight. But at the end of the day, Ten Hag, but this bullshit about how he's going to get sacked mid-season, I don't think it will. What are you going to do? Bring back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? That'd be the worst mistake you can. You might as well stick with Ten Hag, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah, I thought Rashford was abysmal after he scored. He scored a wonder goal, and then he missed easier chances, like you said. In the social media post today, Rashford talked about how proud he was to score in this game, despite the result. Look, mate, that doesn't. Nobody's going to remember this goal now because we fucking lost the game, so it doesn't even matter anymore. So to me, that was the wrong thing to say. Rashford today on social media talking about how proud he was to score that goal. Who cares? We didn't win the game, so that's that to me says that he's more worried about his goal stats than Manchester United actually winning.
Well,
I
the
just
thing is,
just
Kyle,
wasn't impressed
because
with that.
Rashford can single-handedly go, "Hey, I scored the goal. I did my job." But he can say that because he scored the only goal United scored. But at the end of the day, he wasn't tracking back. He wasn't pressing. So are you really proud of that performance, Marcus? You might be proud of the goal and that moment of brilliance, but that's what United are. We're moment FC. We don't really have a structured plan. This Ten Hag blueprint we saw throughout the start of the season, what we saw glimpses of last season as well when we were winning the Carabao Cup and beating the Barcelona in the Europa League and stuff. We have had great moments under Eric Ten Hag, but again, it's moments FC because every single game there's something different. There's either a new team, there's either a new style, there's a new way we build up in possession, whether it's slow, fast, or intermediate. I haven't seen United play the same style 5 games in a row. And whether because yes, we've been ridiculed with injuries. The amount of injuries we've had this season is an absolute joke. We've had 37 individual injuries this season, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here moaning about it because teams can win with injuries. That's what you've got a squad for. Whether you want to say United's squad's good enough or not, that's up to you. I personally think we've got a very shit squad, to be honest. And Eric Ten Hag's established 11 isn't even good enough to compete with the top teams in England. But, again, moments of brilliance. We have moments like, you could say, argue with Anfield, where we got the 0-0 draw. That was a brilliant because everyone is expecting us to get absolutely janked there. There have been moments where we've played well, but like Simon just said, there's just no consistency.
Yeah, 16 defeats in all comps now. We're on a goal difference of -2, which is embarrassing for a club the size of United. And we're obviously exited the Champions League, finishing bottom of the group. And it's just been an awful season. I think what he tried to do yesterday was similar to what he tried to do at Anfield. Got the 0-0 at Anfield, didn't get it yesterday. City are much better playing against the low block. Eventually, they will wear you down. And I could see tiredness creeping in from United in the second half. That will do. If you're not getting any of the ball and you're constantly chasing the opposition, you are going to get tired. And it felt that it was Lindelof couldn't get anywhere near Phil Foden for that first goal, which is a magnificent strike. But Lindelof once again just too slow, too lethargic, too passive. Just I just don't think I think he's too soft for the Premier League, and I just can't believe the amount of games that Lindelof has played for United. It doesn't matter what position he plays in. I just don't think he's any good, and I know he's only really playing because of injuries, but we need to be looking at moving him on in the summer because I'm just
The
totally fed
thing
up with
is
him.
with the thing is with Lindelof, he's a very average centre back. He's a bit of a knob, but he does the job. That's the best way to describe him, right? But he's a very average centre back. I can guarantee you, no team in the top 10 will take Lindelof as their starting centre back. He's a good squad player, you could say, but when it comes to the key moments and the key games, he's not good enough. And playing him at left back for majority of the game against City, he's an average centre back, which is his normal position. What the fuck does Ten Hag think he is as a left back then? Does he think he's fucking Maldini or something where he can play perfect in both positions? Like last time I checked, he doesn't have an Italian passport. And last time I checked, he doesn't have the trophy cabinet of Pablo Maldini. He's an average player, and we got him on the cheap from where was it we got him from? Was it Benfica that Jose Mourinho bought him in
Yeah.
for? So at the end of the day, he should have been gone a long time ago. But it's not just Lindelof; it's multiple players. And this is obviously I want to kind of bring onto the topic about Ten Hag and the situations and stuff. I'm not going to sit here, Kyle, and say Ten Hag's going to win us the league or Champions League or anything like that, because obviously I can't predict that because the competition is incredible in the Premier League. There's the amount of quality that's in the Premier League. This is why it's one of the most entertaining leagues in the world. But I'd much rather see Eric Ten Hag backed for the next 3 more seasons or something, and see players that have let down so many previous managers in whether they're injury prone, whether they're just overpaid, whether they're not good enough, whatever you want to say. I want to see a complete revival of the squad and we get new players because I'd much rather us as well get 1-star player each summer transfer window where we spend, I don't know, a decent 60, 70 million pounds, get your established signing, but then find like deals like Malacia of last season where we're getting them in for 12, 13 million. Look around that area and get players to build a squad. Don't just go for all these first team quality players because it creates division, it creates like low morale in the squad. And that's where I think a lot of United issues are at the moment. What's not talked about enough as well is this Mason Mount and Malacia injury. They've been nowhere all season. Mason Mount we bought for nearly £60 million. Malacia I can let off, but we need a backup left back. Why are United loaning out Alvaro Fernandez to Benfica when we've got an injury crisis? Like, it makes no fucking sense. Like, and then we've Malacia's been nowhere all season.
Yeah, I don't understand why we got rid of Regulon and Alvaro Fernandez when Malacia wasn't fit again. Um, he must have suffered another setback. Setback. That's the only thing I can think of. Uh, yeah, and Luke Shaw's been unavailable for most of the season, which is hugely frustrating. United looked a
He
much
needs
better
to go. By
team.
the way, Luke Shaw for me is one of them players that needs to go. He is
Yeah,
a very good player when he's available, but he's just not like I saw a stat where
yeah.
on average he misses. I think it's 80 games per 80 days per season or something like that, which is obviously balanced out over time. But let's not forget back in was it 2013 or 14, whatever it was, when he got his leg snapped and he almost never played football again. Since then, he's not been the same player. His injuries have been absolutely terrible, and we can't be relying on a first team player that's constantly out injured.
Yeah, I mean, when he's fit, he's England's first choice, and yet he only has about at the age of 29, he has like 32 England caps. That tells you how injury prone that he is. But yeah, he needs replaced. But as you seen yourself in January and in February up until the Fulham game, when United had Shaw, Martinez, and Hoyland available, they looked a much better team. And
Yeah, of
Ten
course we
Hag
did.
just can't
But
Ten Hag can't afford to do without the five key players. We're missing three of them at the moment. We look like half a
the
team.
thing is, right, Rasmus Højlund, I am concerned about because this is now his third injury this season, right? That's a concern for me. You know, he's only 21 years old and he's only just turned 21, by the way. He turned 21 in February or something. So if he is at the age of 21, has already had three injuries for Manchester United, that has to be highlighted as a concern. You know, I
Well,
don't forget as well, we bought him injured from Atalanta. He got injured in pre-season, and that's why it was so late in his debut was against Arsenal. He wasn't available till the start of the season. So he didn't have a pre-season with us. He missed the first two Premier League games, and then he comes on off the bench against Arsenal, and he struggled adapting to the Premier League and didn't score until Boxing Day in the Premier League. So at the end of the day, I can't be doing with another like Martial. I love Hoyland. I think he's a brilliant upcoming player. I think he's a top class player with world class potential. But at the end of the day, I'm not having another Poppadom as our striker.
well, the thing is, his injuries aren't long term. He's only missing a few weeks with these injuries, which is good. He's not
But
missing
it
six
adds up,
months of the
Kyle.
season.
It adds up. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, it's only a
And
couple of weeks, but what is it? Like 2 weeks, 3 weeks here and there. Yeah, that sounds all right. It's not a couple of months all in one go, but he's still missing like 2 months in a season, which is don't know how many games you want to calculate it up to, but it's probably about 7 or 8
and
games. As your main striker, you need that because United aren't scoring goals at the moment.
well, just to put your mind at rest, when Dallo was Hoyland's age, he was missing games with a lot of injuries, where he hasn't been injured all season. I think there's three players at United who haven't missed a game through injury this season. Dallo was one of them. Of course, Bruno, who's never missed a game through injury at Manchester United in 4 years, which is amazing.
The suspension counts. He missed
Uh,
it. He missed the game for suspension.
yeah, and illness, but he's never missed a game through injury, which is an
Yeah.
incredible record. Uh, yeah, United obviously not the same team once they're missing key players. I've said already that there's only four players, in my opinion, who are players that you would definitely keep, who you wouldn't sell at any price, and that would be Menu, Hoyland, Martinez, and Garnacho. I think. Well, well, it wouldn't sell them for any less than 150 million. Let's put it that way. Those are four players that I think are definitely going to be here next season. Anyone else has their price, in my opinion. How do you see it, Dan?
I'd say there's more players than four. I'd say obviously I agree with the players you mentioned. You know, if Sir Jim Ratcliffe was to pull Ten Hag in the office and be like, right, you've got one more season, I'm going to give you 150 million to build your squad. Tell me five players you want to keep, and we'll build a team around them. Right? You keep Hoyland, you keep Ganacho, you keep Martinez, Dallo, and Mainu. They're your five players. They're your core. You keep Bruno Fernandes because he's your captain, and with what people think about him, he can have that moment of brilliance. Personally, right now, Bruno Fernandes is playing absolutely shocking. And if Mount was available, I feel like Mount would have got a run in a couple of games because Bruno has been that badly. Eriksen's been out injured. I want him gone. He's a defensive liability when he is available. But, you know, Tenag needs a proper fit right centre back. He needs, I think Onana stays as well, but I think we need to definitely target a first team left back that can compete with Luke Shaw, because when we've seen new left backs come into the team, Shaw turns into Shawberto Carlos. You know, he becomes the best left back in England once again, and he's not injured or anything like that. You know, that's when you get the best out of Luke Shaw, which is very frustrating. But we definitely get a first team left back, definitely get a physical um, right sided centre back as well. I definitely need a proper six, you know, someone like your Kimmich or Rodri. I know that's a massive names in the likes of footballing world, but you need that established number six who can take the ball off the back four and distribute it really well into the midfield and the forward players. And as well, a winger. You know, we need a proper winger. Whether you want to play Garnacho on the right or left, I really like Garnacho on the right hand side. For me, I'd sell Rashford. I would. I do think I'm off his back because I have kicked off of him enough this season. I just think it's not going to get me anywhere. But I think Rashford has to go, and my ideal replacement is Rafael Leao from AC Milan. That would be my statement signing. He would be. He's so like Rashford, where he can play at centre forward. So if Højlund's injured, you've got your centre forward there to replace him. But he's brilliant for at the height he is. He reminds me of Thierry Henry. You know, a massive guy, or maybe even a Robert Pires. Massive, but so agile and so quick. Rafael Leao would be perfect for Man United.
Oh, such a player he is. Did you see his goal last week that he
I did,
scored?
yeah. It was brilliant.
Yeah,
But
that's a good shout. Yeah.
there's also one player that I've been obsessed with, and I'm fuming because he's currently at City, and it is Julian Alvarez. I love Julian Alvarez. I loved him when he was at River Plate. Yeah, I don't really watch South American football, but I remember when I was I'll tell you the story. I was playing Football Manager, right, and I was Salford City. I was about to get promoted into the Championship, and my scout comes in and says to me, "Right, scouted this young striker, Sir Julian Alvarez. Do you want him?" I get him, and ends up my main striker for the next 5 seasons. End up winning the Champions League with Gary Neville, Salford City with him, and then I started watching him in real life. I was absolutely buzzing. He was sick. And then when we had Ranić in real life and he mentioned Julian Alvarez, honestly, I came in my pants thinking that my dream was going to come to a reality. But then City gets him for like 14 million. And then I'm absolutely heartbroken because he goes and wins the World Cup and the treble. Like, that guy's trophy cabinet at the age he is absolutely incredible. And for a back, he's too good to be a backup for Haaland. I think that if City didn't have Haaland, Julian Alvarez is good enough to be City's main striker if he wants to. So I feel like he'd get in any Premier League side. To be honest, Arsenal would love him, Liverpool would love him, United fans would love him. He's just a humble player that would be brilliant for us.
Well, we got Omar Barada from City, but I don't think we're going to get Julian Alvarez, unfortunately. Um, so obviously another hugely disappointing result for Manchester United. Um, Dallo at the moment is really dividing opinion. And I can see massive improvement from Dallo. Uh, he's really good in the attacking half of the pitch. But I still have concerns about his one-on-one defending. And I have to admit that has improved as well, but still not perfect. I would still like to sign another right back to compete with Dallo next season. I think Wan-Bissaka will be sold. What's your thoughts on Dallo, Dan?
I think he's player of the season. Like, personally, I mean, I had Faz off the United stand come on my channel a few weeks ago, and we debated alongside with a mate as well. I've got a mate called Matt who also came onto the show. He said Scott McTominay was the player of the season, But me and Faz came to the agreement that Dalot was our player of the season. He's the most consistent player in the squad. Like I said, he's one of the only players that hasn't got an injury this season. He can play left and right back, and the development of Dalot this season has been absolutely brilliant. You know, he's only 24 years old as well. He's got so many. I mean, you look at Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker's 32, 33 years old, and still one of the best right backs in the Premier League. Dalot has many years ahead of him. The right back position, I think he's good at. I think he's the future captain of Manchester United. That's my opinion. I think he's going to have a career throughout at Manchester United unless someone massive like Barcelona or Real Madrid come in for him. But until then, I think he's firmly staying at Manchester United, and I think he's future captain of this club. If you remember Cristiano Ronaldo's interview with Piers Morgan when all that drama was happening, Piers Morgan asked him who are there any like level-headed, mature players in the squad. Cristiano Ronaldo mentions Dalot as a brilliant level-headed player, and obviously that was over a year and a half ago. So that was when Dalot was 22, just 23 years old. So I think Dalot's player of the season. Yes, his one-on-one defending is, and I'm going to say is questionable. It's got a lot better than what it was last season. Wan-Bissaka had a brilliant resurgence of his career in the second half of last season, but Dalot is perfect. I would not change our right back. I'd try and find our right back Malacia. Someone cheap. If we're going to sell Wan-Bissaka, then go out and get our right-sided Malacia, someone who is cheap, because we can probably get about 25 to 30 million for Wan-Bissaka. So if we go out and buy someone for like £15 million, you then also that will help out our FFP because we're selling a player for more and buying a player for less, which would really help us out with FFP.
Simon here says Dallo has come undoubtedly. Plus, he's young. Don't be talking dirty now, Simon. We don't want that in this show. Um, yeah, you must have really enjoyed Dallo's lovely turn against Forest, and then he provided the cross for McTominay at the front post.
I did.
That was lovely skill the way he shuffled away from the defender. He's got great confidence at the moment when he's on the ball. But
Yeah.
yesterday, I think he wasn't getting. He does this. He wasn't getting close to Daku yesterday. He's backing off and backing off, and allowing Daku to get into the box. I think what saved us was that Daku just was rubbish yesterday. To be honest, he wasn't any good, and was the first City player to be substituted. I want to see Dallo defend like Martinez. Just go in and try to win the ball early. And
The,
that's
the,
what I
the
love
thing
about Martinez.
The thing is, though, obviously, I like when I played football with my mates or when I played five-a-side or something like that. I always end up at right back. That's like my position. Like, you could say I'm Gary Neville. You could say, like, not as good as Gary Neville, obviously, but Gary Neville says that no one wants to be a Gary Neville because Gary Neville started off as a striker, then got moved into midfield, but then got moved to right back. Kids growing up don't want to be fullbacks. You're good enough to do a job, but anyway, I played right back, and the way he defends, when you're going up against a direct winger like, someone like Doku, who will run at you directly and try and make you slip up, you can't be aggressive like a Martinez and take him out cleanly, because otherwise you'll get absolutely skimmed. All it takes is a little touch the other way, and you go flying right past them. Then they've got a massive yard of open space. I felt like Dalot defended really well against Doku. That's why he got took off. Like that's why he brought on the likes of Julian Alvarez, someone who could move more into the centre with Erling Haaland and try and overload Dalot's side. But then Dalot moved to left back anyway. And then Phil Foden moved to the other side, like we've already talked about. And then Camballera and Amrabat had that massive mess that they made of. But at the end of the day, with Dalot, the way he defends, obviously it's not aggressively. I feel like that I have full confidence in him that 9 times out of 10 he'll make the right decision. Sometimes he can get a yellow card, sometimes he can make a rash decision. But 9 times out of 10, like I've just said, I think Dalot defends really, really well. And I think he's player of the season for United.
I think there is going to be an unusual winner of the Player of the Season award. this year. Johnny Evans, I think, might be in the mix as well, and certainly in some people's opinion. And in a poor season, no, the winner's not going to be an obvious winner. It's going to be more of an underdog type player. I don't agree that McTominay is player of the season. Yes, he has
No,
got crucial, he has got crucial goals, like, but overall, even yesterday, he's just so poor on the ball, isn't he? Just
the
not as
thing
much
is,
as a
Carl.
midfielder.
Sorry to interrupt, mate. But this is what Faz said to me. And this is what made me see the bigger picture. What do you determine as player of the season? Is it consistency? Is it goals? Is it availability? What do you determine as player of the season? Right, for me, it's consistency and availability because you've got to be able to play to make the difference. Let's say, for example, Anthony Martial. He's played what 4 or 5 games for us this season and scored in 2 games and got one
Who?
assist. Martial, oh yeah, there you go then. But at the end of the day, Martial's been only available for a handful of games, and he scored in 2 of them and got one assist. So his, goal ratio in tallies in stats is really good this season. But you don't have to tell me that Rasmus Højlund is way better than Martial this season, but Martial's stats will be better. This is where I don't like stats because, someone can say to me, "Oh well, Martial scored in 5 games. Højlund didn't score for his first 14." Fuck off, is what I say to that.
So Jobs for Football says Andre Onana for player of the season. I don't think so.
Fuck
He's
off.
the reason why we went.
Fuck
Surely he's
off.
being facetious there. He's the reason why we're not in the Champions League anymore. It seems to be that whenever he has a couple of decent games, people forget how bad he was. Now, yesterday I thought
Yeah.
he was good, is good overall, but he should have saved Foden's second goal, in my opinion. I think Schmeichel or Van der Sar
He
saved
gets a
that.
hand. The thing is with Foden's shot, it's like I think the technique is called a low driven shot or something like that. He hits it with so much power, it's like a stone across the water. It just skimmed across the floor. Onana gets a hand to it. He almost saved it, but I don't blame Onana for that. Varane moves away from him. He gets absolutely skimmed. Varane's there like trying to cover the near post, and then Foden, all Foden has to do is tap it with his left foot, and then he's through. He's got that space, and he hits it into the bottom corner. Onana considering he gets a hand to it as well. There was just that much power on it. He just couldn't do anything about it. I think that the it was more defensive errors which cost us the goals.
Yeah.
I think Onana couldn't have done anything on the goals. Foden's first goal, wonder strike. Lindelof just completely loses Foden. The second goal I've just explained, and then the final goal for City with Haaland. He just again, even though he kills it into the bottom corner, the amount of power he gets on it it's a joke.
Amrabat was at fault for that goal, in my opinion. That was
Honestly,
dreadful.
Expelliarmus, that Voldemort-looking bastard, back to fucking Italy. He is shite.
Yeah, apparently Fiorentina are now worried that his transfer value is going to go down during
Kyle,
his loan
do,
spell
do
at
you watch
United.
the United stand?
Sometimes.
Right. At the start of the season, Beth, the girl who's on there, she was saying about how we should be
Yeah.
signing Amrabat on a permanent deal because of a world-class World Cup he had with Morocco. Morocco were the dark horses of that tournament. They were absolutely brilliant. They went toe to toe with France, beat France. I believe they beat. No, they didn't beat France. France beat them, but they went toe to toe with France. It was a very good game, and Beth loved to highlight that Amrabat tackle on Mbappe, where he runs all the way back and tackles him. That's the one moment she said, but apparently we have to, because of that one moment on Mbappe, we should sign him for £25 million. No, he's shite. Like I said, he's like Voldemort. He's Voldemort off Wish. I want him to be Expelliarmus back to Italy and back to Fiorentina, and we never see him again. He's shit. Honestly, like people are there, like, oh, why hasn't he been given a chance when Casemiro's been injured? Like, does that prove your answer? He might not have played enough, but maybe that's why. Maybe Ten Hag got him as an extra option because Mainu was injured. I think if Mainu wasn't injured at the start of the season, we would never have got Amrabat.
Yeah, and he is dreadful. Look, against Forest, he kept giving the ball away in the first half as well. Uh, yeah, he is not a good player at all. And we paid a 10 million loan fee for him, which is shocking. The fact that he was available all summer and we didn't sign him till right the end, so that tells you. that we weren't really that desperate to get him, uh, and he was just kind of a, a solution because we didn't get anyone else, and because Mainu was injured, like you say. So yeah, that hasn't worked out at all, and he's going straight back to Fiorentina at the end of the season. And yeah, cost us that third goal yesterday. Oh, to be honest, the team that United had on after Ten Hag made all the subs, that was not a team capable of scoring any goals. To be honest, Anthony and Forzan coming on, there was, Bruno hasn't scored many goals from
I'll
open
tell
play
you
this
what's
season.
funny. I'll tell you what's funny, Karen. Obviously, you can if you can agree or disagree with me. When Anthony came on for Rashford, I was shocked. I was like, at least take off Garnacho because Garnacho was doing nothing against Ake and Walker. So when Anthony came on, my granddad was like, "Oh, here we go. We're getting someone with pace on." And I looked at him and I was like, "Are we talking about the same Anthony here?" And he was like, "Yeah, Anthony's quick." And I was like, "He might be quick, but Anthony can't dribble. A Down syndrome can dribble better than fucking Anthony. Like when
Yeah,
Anthony's running with the ball, he loses the ball at his feet. Like Anthony, when he went to get the best out of Anthony, is why Alexis Sanchez failed at Man United. Alexis Sanchez needs that ball in behind and needs to run onto the ball. That's what Anthony needs to do.
uh,
He can't dribble past players and
yeah.
like you expect someone like Saka or Doku to do.
Bruno Fernandes near the end of the game played a lovely ball into Anthony, and Anthony couldn't go past the City player at the edge of the box. He just got the ball taken off him because he's just so poor dribbling. Um, yeah, I have to mention that Onana's distribution was excellent yesterday as well. It actually had led to the United's goal. That long punt up the field, which Fernandez then held up and led it off to
Like
Rashford. And there
like
was
everyone's talking about Bruno's pass to Rashford, which is literally just a little pass, which is perfect because that's what we want from Bruno. We want Bruno to simplify his game and make them shorter passes to create them chances. I think Bruno just overcomplicates everything. Just go back to the basics, mate. And I know he seems like he's the hero of Man United because for them 2 years under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he was. We had Jesse Lingard, an aging Juan Mata, or Paul Pogba, who was just too inconsistent in that number 10 role. So when Bruno Fernandes came into the team, we were all dead over the moon with him. But then I feel like that he still thinks he's the main man. But you've got different players now. You've got a much better team than what we had under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So at the end of the day, I think Bruno just needs to take a step back. He is the captain, and rightfully so. He is deserving of that because of his performances. But what you think about him as a person, with him being petulant and stuff, and is he captain material? That's up for debate. I personally think that he's not aggressive enough, and he isn't. There's no aura about him where you'd be like, "Fucking hell, I'm Manchester United captain." I think he just walks into the room, and people just continue being on the phones or something. Do you know what I mean? Like that's in the dressing room. Everyone for Roy Keane, everyone's up on the feet and waiting for the instructions or the discussion between Roy Keane. But then Bruno Fernandes walks in and no one probably looks up to him, to be honest. But I like Bruno, but he's just been very frustrating this season, I think.
Yeah, the most frustrating thing about him is rather than playing a simple ball, he goes for goal from 30 yards. He does that far too often for me. Just
Yeah, he
keep it simple,
does.
as you say. So let's move on to the player ratings section of the show. So Onana, apart from the second goal, and you say, like you say, it was a daisy cutter from Foden, which was difficult to save. So overall, I'd say we did concede 3 goals, even though it's not his fault. So I'll just say a 6 for Andrew Onana. Dallo, I'll say a 6 as well. Varane would downgrade him to a 5. Definitely, that was he wasn't great for the third goal. Johnny Evans was excellent. I thought for his 68 minutes, I would give him an 8 out of 10. Lindelof, what more is there to say, really? I'll say a 4 out of 10. Casemiro, the third goal, there was the 1-2 took Casemiro out of the game. But I thought defensively that he was better. He was winning a lot of tackles in the center of the park yesterday, which you haven't seen from him in a while.
I was very
So
proud that he didn't get a booking, to be honest, because there were
yeah,
moments where he could have gone flying into a City player and he chose not to. He was very patient with his and
disciplined.
controlled with his defending, disciplined. Yeah, that's the perfect word to use.
So 6 for Casemiro. Menu I thought was excellent again. What a wonderful footballer he is, and he's only really starting out. He's to think that he's going to get better is a mouth-watering prospect. So I'm going to
I
say
personally disagree. I'll let you finish, but I was just going to say that I don't think Mainu or Garnacho were that good yesterday. I think they just got. I think it was just too much for him. He did the simple things, but apart from taking that ball to the face from Foden's shot, I don't really remember him doing much, to be honest.
okay. It's, yeah, I don't think it was his best game. But I think defensively he did really well. Like most of them, until Johnny Evans came off. Yeah, Menu's just been that good in most games that then yesterday maybe I'm misremembering and thinking of another game, but because he's good in most games, then I just assumed that he was good yesterday as well. But and he wasn't bad, but it wasn't his best game. So I'll say
No,
6 out of 10.
I agree on that. I was just going to say, by Mainu,
Yeah,
he has been brilliant, but yeah, I just thought that's just me. Yesterday, I just didn't think he was good enough. That's all. I mean, he was better than when Amrabat came on. I mean, the fact that Ten Hag took Mainu off for Amrabat, I think says it all. But like I said, I just feel like that yesterday we just got battered yesterday, and that was the disappointing factor. So it's nice to try and find positives from yesterday's game, but you dig into China, mate, until you find a positive about yesterday's game. To be honest,
yeah. Well, Ten Hag did play a very defensive system. I mean, he played three defensive midfielders really in front of the back four, and just, I mean, so when Minu was on the ball and he looks up, who's he going to pick out? Like McTominay, and you're relying on Rashford and Garnacho to make runs in behind, and McTominay, if you give it to him, he's just going to lose it. So there wasn't really wingers for a centre midfielder who's good on the ball to pick out. United were just defending for most of the game. They're getting everybody behind the ball at certain points in the match. So it's not it's not a great game for a technical player in midfield. You're playing for a team that's just getting everybody behind the ball against one of the best teams in the world. It's going to be hard for you to look good. Uh, you know, you're totally relying on your abilities without the ball, which is what United's midfield had to do yesterday. Yeah, there wasn't very much of a. We needed Hoyland there to hold the ball up as well, which we
yeah.
lacked. W- all we were doing was really hoping that Garnacho
Hoyland in
and
that yeah. Because what I was going to say is that Hoyland in that system where it's balls over the top and just sprinting past the defensive line, he would have scored yesterday. I think like that. If that was Hoyland in Rashford's chance where we had to head the ball down and beat Kyle Walker with a pace, Hoyland's doing
yeah,
that and he's 1-on-1 with the keeper, and I
because
believe he scores.
yeah, because of the confidence that he has at the moment. You see against Luton when the first goal after what 30 seconds, whatever it was, and when Hoyland pounced on the defensive mistake, and he's 1-on-1 with the keeper, I knew he was going to score because of the form that he was in, and he probably would have scored yesterday. Probably also would have scored Rashford's third chance of the game. Where he took a swipe at it at the back post and totally missed the ball, like you were talking about earlier. I think Hoyland probably scores that too, to be honest. But unfortunately,
Yeah.
we didn't have him yesterday. Yeah. So Garnacho, I agree with you, was very poor yesterday. Unfortunately, um, you know, yeah, just didn't really have much of an impact on the game, to be honest.
Because the thing is that he tries something to try and get past a City defender or a City player, and then it wouldn't work. So then he tried something else, and by the 60th minute, he was exhausted because he was just trying and trying and trying, and just not getting anywhere. He was getting out muscled. He was getting out paced. He just wasn't a good game for Garnacho yesterday, unfortunately.
No, it wasn't. But we have to remember that he's 19. Some
Yeah,
people say that he shouldn't actually be playing every game, but he has to because of the lack of options.
to be
So
fair, right? Like it's if we had the squad right where we had all the first team players playing properly and we had all the availability in the world, I'd be open to loaning out Garnacho and let him go and actually play in a team that will suit his needs and let him go out there. But the guy's 19 years old. He's played so many consecutive games for United this season, and at the age of 19, that's incredible. You know, most of our loan players. I mean, you look at Amad Diallo from last season. Diallo's what 21 years old, 22 years old now, and he's not even in the first team. And he was in playing for Sunderland last season and playing for Rangers the season before. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, Ganacho is way above the age aspect. And this Forson kid, my foreskin is better than Forson. You know, he's absolutely woeful. I don't know how he's a professional footballer. For a youth player who, you know, right, every youth player United have brought on for a senior appearance, they at least look like they want to fight for the badge. He runs around like he's Marcus Rashford. He's lazy. He is shit. And I don't really want to be coming at, but he has done nothing in the youth academy that's made me be like, oh, he looks like a good player. He's decent. Don't be wrong in the youth level, but he's not been like in the under 23s or something where I've been like, bloody hell, get him in the starting 11, you know, or get him on the bench in the senior team. I don't see it. I really don't. I think Tenag's just doing it because of how short we are for injuries at the moment.
Yeah, I think Ahmad's a more experienced player and a better footballer, so I would always bring him on before bring on Forzan. So I don't really understand that, to be honest. How does he get a start against Fulham and a substitute appearance against City, and getting 4 more minutes in those two games than what Ahmad did? What did he get? 10 minutes
I don't
against
know.
Fulham and no minutes against City? Yeah, that wasn't. I don't
Something like that.
understand that. Um, yeah, so Garnacho probably gets a four. Rashford, that's an awkward one because he scored unbelievable goal, but was poor after that. It reminded me of that Hazard quote where he said, "Remember Eden Hazard once said that once he had scored his goal, he felt as if he had done his bit and didn't have to do
Yeah.
anything more." Something to that effect. That's what Rashford was like yesterday. Very very poor after he scored. So I'm going
I'll
to
tell you
controver.
what. Yeah, because I had a bet on the game, right? I won a bit of money, but obviously we lost, so I'm not really that happy about it. But I had Rashford to score because I knew with the article that came out last week about Rashford, about where his head's at and stuff, about how he still wants to fight for the badge and stuff like that. I knew he was going to score. I just knew he was going to get an opportunity where he'd score a goal and it'd be like, "That's me done. I've done my job now. Time for you guys to defend." But then, like I said before, he does his job. He can then turn around to defence and be like, "Well, I did my job. I scored the only goal United scored. You should have defended better." But if he wants to point the finger, then he has every right to do so. But again, he wasn't pressing. He wasn't tracking back enough. He wasn't fast enough. He wasn't aggressive enough. He was still backing out of challenges. So if Rashford is happy for him scoring that brilliant goal, fair play. Yeah, it was a brilliant goal, and probably one of the best goals we've scored this season from an individual player. But at the end of the day, you still had an overall shit performance. You can't keep clapping yourself on the back, being like, "Oh, I did a great job," because he didn't.
Yeah, so five for Marcus Rashford. It's very unusual for me to give such a low score for a player who scored a brilliant goal, but that's how bad he was after he scored. And you referenced his article there in the Players Tribune. My opinion on that is words mean nothing. Do your talking on the pitch. And my eyes are not lying to me. He hasn't tried a leg all season, and that's my opinion on it. I just think that we should consider letting him go if his attitude continues in this vein. He just doesn't seem. He seems half-arsed, half interested, really, and I don't care what he says. My eyes are not deceiving me. And finally, McTominay and Bruno. So McTominay would get four for his performance. Never, if he doesn't score, he doesn't contribute anything.
Yeah,
And
I
Bruno
agree with that.
obviously set up the goal, but was not one of his better displays. Although he works a lot harder than Rashford does. To be fair.
I think it was the second half. That moment in the second half when he goes down because he got kicked in the because the ball hit him in the bollocks or something, and he went down like he'd been hit with a brick. Like I remember, you don't know if you remember the game or not, but United will play Liverpool at Anfield, and Nani goes down and off injured because Carragher completely takes him out,
Mhm.
and Nani's absolutely crying on the pitch. Paul Scholes walks over to him and then walks away because he's like, You're crying at Anfield. Fucking get a grip. And Fergie said in his post-match press conference, I hope his leg's fucking broken because if he cries at Anfield for nothing, he's off the team. And Bruno's the same. I don't know what it is with him. I don't know why, if he just thinks that he can get away with it. This is where it comes back for him. He's dead petulant and he's a man child. At the end of the day, if I get an opportunity, this is what I was coming back. This is what pisses me off about Forson. I know you're shit, but you're doing better than any of these United players. I'll give you a game. I am running my heart out for 90 minutes no matter what. If I have to tackle, I'll tackle. If I have to score, I'll try and score. I'll do everything in my power. But I turned around when I was kicking off last night, when I was watching the game, I was like, someone fucking put a tackle in, someone batter one of the players and just show your aggression. I didn't say that was the only part that I didn't like about from our players, that there was no aggression from them. They just looked fed up. They were like, oh, well, we go again, on to Everton next week. If that was me as a fan, and even if as a player, it doesn't matter whether I'm playing football with my mates and we're doing five-a-side, or if I do a Sunday league game every now and again. I'm passion all the way through. I don't care if you're my best friend or if you're my enemy. I am two-footing you to win that fucking ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Bruno gets 4 from me, and Ten Hag will get a 3. Once again, his substitutions made United worse, and that's happened far
Yeah.
too often. So a hugely disappointing week for United. Of course, losing at home to Fulham, which is inexcusable, and getting dominated by Manchester City. So, um, obviously, this fan base are kind of split 50-50 on Ten Hag. Some people want to see him, see out his contract, at the very least, and see what he does in Ineos's first season as United co-owners. And others want to see the back of him at the end of this season because they don't think he's good enough. Regardless of what your opinion is, and we've had this debate ourselves on the previous show we did together, I do think that he will be moved on at the end of the season. I think
Sorry to interrupt you,
in order
mate.
for him to stay,
Sorry to interrupt you, mate. But guess what score it is at half time for Arsenal?
5-0.
Have you just checked?
I didn't. No, I just guessed.
No, they're 5-0 up already in half time.
Yeah, well, I knew Arsenal are scoring 5 and 6 in every game at the moment, and they're playing the worst team in the league. So I anticipated that it was going to be a massive scoreline. It could be 10 by the end of the game. But yeah, I feel for Ten Hag, in order to keep his job, he would have to qualify for the Champions League and win the FA Cup. And I don't think he's going to do both of those things. I might not even do one of those things. I think we're going to have to beat Liverpool and Manchester City to win the FA Cup, which is a tall order with all these injuries.
I honestly
Um,
think he would get another season if he gets fifth or sixth, where we get guaranteed Europa League football and we win the FA Cup. I think he's safe. I'd honestly say he'd be safe if we win the FA Cup. I think that it doesn't matter where we finish in the league, as long as we don't finish below sixth and we win the FA Cup. I think he's safe.
well, Jim Radcliffe said in the recent interviews that he done, and he emphasized the importance of qualifying for the Champions League next season. That's a very important soundbite there, because he said it was going to be valuable to the transfer kitty in the summer, having that 60 million for qualifying for the Champions League. So if Ten Hag
This
fails to
this is what I
achieve
don't
that,
understand. This is what I don't understand, Kyle, because the thing is, right, Sergio Ratcliffe throughout the January transfer window, yeah, he brought in the right people, brought in Omar Barada, brought in other people as well, Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, like I've just said. But there was no transfer activity for players, no loan spells, no free transfers, no nothing, right? Sergeant Ratcliffe and the Glazers knew how short our squad was. So if they're saying, "Oh, about in the summer we signed what, 3 players on a transfer? We brought in Johnny Evans for free, and then we got 2 loan players. Regulon was only 6 months, and he left in the January transfer window, and now he's at Brentford. And then Amrabat is just shit, to be honest. But then Mason Mount." has been gone all season, just constantly injured. Rasmus Højlund has done really well. And Andre Onana, whatever you think about him, he's very inconsistent himself. We didn't have a good transfer window. So Ratcliffe is saying if what you're saying is true, because I remember him saying something about the Champions League, but I don't remember him saying it was like it's the be all and end all. Like obviously, yes, having the Champions League football is really good for having that extra transfer money in the transfer window. But even if we get in the Champions League, we're not going to fucking win it. We're not good enough to win it yet. So even if we do get it, what's the point in it? That's just my mindset on it. But like you said before, we're 11 points behind Aston Villa. We're how many points behind you? So
S-
right now,
6 points behind Spurs, and we played a game more.
well, there you go then. So just looking at it now. So we are, where is it? Where's the points? Yeah, so we're 6 points behind Spurs and 11 behind Villa. So at the end of the day, mate, it's a long stretch to try and get there. We'll say, but now we're back at
Yes.
-2 for goal difference. We did so well getting back from -5. We got to a +1, and now we're back down to -2.
Look at all the teams around us; their goal difference compared to ours. It's
I mean,
I
West
think
Ham,
only
they've got
West Ham and
minus foot. Yeah, West Ham have
yeah,
got
only West Ham and
-4.
Wolves have a minus in the top 10. All the rest they have a very high goal difference. It's embarrassing really. Here's the way I see it. Right, the new co-owners are going to change the directors, which they're currently in the process of. They're going to change the medical staff. They're going to change the scouting system. They're going to change the players. When they're changing all that, are they going to keep the coach? I don't see it. I think he's going to be moved on at the end of the season.
So who do you get in?
Well, there's no really obvious candidate. There's many options, but and I've no idea what direction they're going to go in. There's so many names have been linked. You know what the media are like? It's a different name every day. Out of
Well,
all the
I remember when the whole takeover thing was happening. Every single news article knew what was happening. They knew that it was going to be Sheikh Kazim, or they knew it was going to be Sergeant Ratcliffe. Blah de blah de blah de blah. I don't believe it. I really don't believe the media anymore. When it comes to them exclusive interviews, I don't fucking believe it. Until I hear Ten Hag or Sergeant Ratcliffe, it comes out of their mouth, I don't believe it. And that's the way it has to be now, because it's one of them ones where it's he said, she said, blah de blah de blah de blah. But at the end of the day, there's nothing we can do. We play. Is it next week we play for Liverpool? Or is it the week
it's
after?
Everton. No, it's Everton in the league next Saturday at 12:30. Um, yeah. So
Yeah.
my pick for the next manager would be. I know people are going to have different opinions on this. Would either be Simone Inzaghi or Julian Nagelsmann, and I know neither of those are perfect options, but it's worth mentioning. I know Simone Inzaghi plays 3-5-2, which not everybody loves in England, but this man has won 8 trophies in Italy. He's running away with the league this season, and they got to the Champions League final last season and lost narrowly to the best team in the world in Manchester City. He looks like a very astute coach. Not only do they score plenty of goals, but they also keep a lot of clean sheets as well. So he'd be a very interesting option there. Julian Nagelsmann has a lot of experience for a 36-year-old. Has managed at Bayern Munich, Red Bull Leipzig, and Hoffenheim. Got Hoffenheim from the Bundesliga 2 to the Champions League in 2 seasons. Won the league at Bayern Munich. Left the club for non-footballing reasons when they were still in with a chance of winning the treble. Obviously at Red Bull, he won. He finished second and third, which is not bad for a club of that size. And he's now the Germany manager. So if we do bring him in, obviously we'll want to see Germany do well in the Euros because that makes him look like a better coach. But yeah, some of the other options we talked about, Graham Potter is the one I definitely do not want. I think the job is far too big for him. And I'm worried about these stories that Dan Ashworth wants to bring Graham Potter to United. I'm not the sporting coach has been talked about, but again, that would be a similar appointment to Ten Hag, someone who's done really well in a minor league, and then coming to the juggernaut that is Manchester United, it could overwhelm him. So that'd be a big gamble in my opinion. Zidane's been talked about, but I think that's unrealistic. I don't think he's interested in the job. Um, yeah, it's hard to know who it's going to be at this stage, Dan. Do you have a favorite if Ten Hag has moved on?
Hansi Flick,
Okay, why?
because before Nagelsmann came in Bayern Munich, to Bayern Munich, Flick was probably one of the best managers in Germany. He was the one who won the Champions League with Bayern Munich. I think when they beat PSG, he was the manager under them. I think right now, I'm just Googling where he is right now. But he's saying that Flick signed a 3-year deal with Germany when he was appointed as manager in August 2021. His current contract with the national team runs out in July 31st, 2024, which will come just after the Euros in Germany 2024. So where's Nagelsmann then? 1 second.
Hold on, no, hold on. Hansi Flick was sacked as Germany coach, and Nagelsmann's now the manager.
Oh, is that right? So then that's not changed then. Did he get sacked during the World Cup or something? Is that what happened?
No, I think it was last year. Yeah, it was last year at some stage during the qualifying campaign. I think. Uh, I'm not too sure. Obviously, Germany weren't happy with Hansi Flick's results. I think didn't he lose at home to Turkey or something,
I'm not
and a
sure.
few other poor results. But yeah, Nagelsmann's got the job until the end of the Euros. As a he's in there as a temporary coach. Um, yeah, Hansi Flick won the treble at Bayern. That's an achievement that's nobody can take away from him. Funny enough, Bayern won the treble under Hinkes in I think it was 2013, something like that. In 2020, they won the treble under Hansi Flick, but Guardiola didn't win the treble at Bayern Munich, which is interesting.
No.
Uh, and for until last season, everybody kept mentioning that Guardiola has yet to win the Champions League without Lionel Messi. Eventually, he achieved that just about against Inter last season. But obviously, like you mentioned, there's the 115 charges and all that, which is yet to be resolved. Um, yeah, so I like to get managers that are on the way up. Their careers going northwards. Um, the thing is with Flick is even though he won the treble with Bayern, in his most recent job with Germany, he was sacked. So that would concern me slightly. But definitely, I wouldn't be against the appointment if United made it. He was, of course, the assistant manager to Joachim Low for all those years as Germany manager, which people might not know. So that's definitely an interesting shout because anyone who wins a treble with a major club,
I think it's here. It says after finishing second in the UEFA Euro 2008 and third at the 2010 FIFA World Cup, Flick reached the semi-finals at the Euros 2012 and won with Germany in the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Was he the manager of Germany in 2014?
no, he's assistant manager under as I said under Joachim Low.
Right, is that right? Sorry. But no, obviously,
Yeah.
talking about Ten Hag, I don't want him to go. I think that he's a decent manager. I think that it's just been a very underwhelming season this season. We saw what happened last season. We won a trophy for the first time in 5 years. He got us third place. And I just think that if it wasn't for injuries this season, we would have been up there. We would have had way more points than Villa. We wouldn't be up there having a title race, but we'd definitely be challenging Villa for top four. We'd probably have more points than Villa. We wouldn't be worried about Spurs or anything like that. And so I think with the limitations Ten Hag has had this season, I think he's done pretty fucking well, to be honest. And this is what does me in with like fans like Saeed. I have big respect to Saeed, and if he ever sees this, mate, I'll say the same to your face. Like, I absolutely respect you, mate, but the agenda you have on Eric Ten Hag is a fucking joke. Like, you push agenda of Ten Hag out the roof. It's a joke. You say he's got no tactics. You say he doesn't know what he's doing. You're saying he's clueless. But then you'll sit there and blame Ten Hag for not playing Amad Diallo, who's a fucking bang average championship player. I don't rate Amad Diallo. So, like, I don't rate a lot of the players in the Man United right now, and Ten Hag has got his arm tied behind his back and being made to walk the fucking plank.
Do you think there's a possibility that the players are being overtrained, and that's why we're picking up so many muscular injuries?
I don't know what's happened, but again, if I knew what had happened, then obviously I'd be saying it, but I don't. It's just clear that this
Um,
season, our key players, especially, because the thing is, Casemiro was doing great at the start of the season, goes on international duty with Brazil, gets injured in Brazil. So that wasn't even down to Ten Hag. Martinez was injured throughout the entirety of end of last season because that massive injury picked up against Sevilla. And then obviously he started this season, was still injured. The doctors told Ten Hag that he was fine. Then Martinez gets injured in the Arsenal game. We don't see him again for several months. Then his debut against West Ham, and then gets another injury, like which is a completely different injury. Can get smashed off the side of the pitch. At the end of the day, Martin is going to pick up injuries because of how aggressive he is and how much he flies into challenges and
yeah,
stuff. But at the end of the day, the severity of the
same
injuries
as
he's got
Vidic.
are very unlucky with Martinez. So if I was to ask you last season who was our most important players, who would you say United's most important players were last season? Name me three players.
Martinez, Casemiro, and Rashford.
There you go. So Casemiro, who was injured at the start of the season because of Brazil. Martinez has been injured practically all season, and Rashford has just been shit this season and just really dropped form. But that happened before the season even started. I remember making a video talking about how shit he was in pre-season. Hopefully, he can pick up his consistency again once the Premier League going. But something's clearly happened from the end of last season throughout the summer and to pre-season. Rashford has just not delivered this season at all. And that's been my massive frustration with him. But you've just said there the three players that were our most important players last season. Two of them have hardly been here because of consistent injuries. And Rashford, who was our top scorer, has been nowhere to be
has
seen.
has down tools. I'm just going to end the show on the stats, the individual stats on Diogo Dallo from yesterday, which you will like to hear. So, 100% tackle win rate, 100% dribbles completed, 100% aerial duels won, 80% duels win rate, 8 out of 10 duels won, and 3 out of 3 tackles won from Diogo Dallo yesterday against Manchester City. Um, yeah, and the winning goal and the third goal came when he switched to left back as well. And when Julian Alvarez come on for Daku, yeah, Daku did nothing up against Dal really. He was very poor, and
I didn't even see
obviously with
Julian Alvarez when he came on. It was just Foden.
but
Foden was everywhere. Foden was brilliant yesterday. Foden was the
yeah, yeah,
game changer.
yeah. It's also I'm just going to point out there that Guardiola switched Foden to the left when Kambala came on at right back. And
Yeah.
that was very shrewd of Guardiola. As I said, I think it should have been a like for like change if Evans had to come off through injury. Kambwala should have went straight in at centre back and just left the. You don't want to be changing everybody's position when you're defending against Manchester City in the middle of the second half. We want to keep as many people in the same position as possible. So for me, he should have made a like for like change there. And as I
Yeah, I
say,
agree.
bringing on Anthony and Forzan was a mistake as well. I'd rather make no subs than bring on some of these guys, to be honest. I
Yeah.
think you said that yourself earlier in the show. So we will wrap it up there. If everyone please smash a like on the video, get more of your comments in, and subscribe to the channel. And I shall see you again next time, Dan.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it as always. And are you going to the game or any games anytime soon?
Yes, I'm going to the Liverpool FA Cup game. I hope to see you there.
Oh, you jammy bastard! I've not got a ticket yet. If I am, then I'll probably see you there. But I haven't got a ticket yet. So if I can buy one, hopefully I can get one. But no, right now I've not got one. I'm at Everton this weekend, but no, I haven't got an FA Cup one, unfortunately.
Well, good luck. I hope you get a ticket.
Cheers, Bob.
And I'll maybe see you there and do some videos outside the ground.
Yeah, definitely. If I get one, yeah, I'll definitely do a video with you.
All right,
But
I'll see you later.
I'll see you later.